Welcome to my Friday morning show. My name is Duncan Gledhill and I am the email guy. So in today's show, what I'm going to be talking about is the value of content and why content is so important. And I do not mean just a copy of your email. What I mean is content in terms of the message that you are putting out there into the market, whether it be by email or LinkedIn or even YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to use this whiteboard here to give you an idea of a typical funnel. And a funnel is, it's a customer journey really for a business to business, for a B2B company. So I'm going to use a typical example, which is, let's say, a payroll company. So if we've got a company that is offering payroll services, they may have a couple of steps in their customer journey that customers need to take before they will, or prospects need to take before they become a customer. Call it a customer journey. So the first step is going to be that we have got some kind of prospecting, yeah? So we've got prospecting, and that is going to go into our customer journey over here. Then what we've got is we have got, after prospecting, we might be using email or LinkedIn or YouTube to drive people to a particular page. And that page is where we want them to take an action. So we have got some kind of a form on that web page, which is where they can leave their information to try and get additional information, such as a download or whatever it is. Once they have done that, we then need to take them through to the next step, which would be a request for proposals. So this is where they know a little bit about what it is that we do now, and now they want to cost for something. So let's just call that a request for proposals. So, or you can call it request for quotation, whatever. You've basically got a customer asking you how much is the product. Then what you've got is you've got a process which is where the customer decides whether or not your product or your service is going to be relevant to them, whether or not it's the right one for them. And if it is, what they normally do is they request an order form. So that would be an order form, or it would be a payment link, or it might be some kind of a quotation system. So they've gone through the process of hearing all about you. They've then gone through the process of learning about what it is that you do. They've taken some actions on your website in order to give you their contact details. We've then got a price being asked for, we've quoted it, we've sent them the price, and now they want to have the order form. So once they've got the order form, the last step of this particular customer journey would be to close. So they would sign the order form. Okay, so that's a typical business-to-business customer journey. And it might be the same for car leasing, for example. So car leasing, we do emails, we do LinkedIn, we do YouTube, whatever else it is that we're doing. Those people take an action at some point about, let's say that it is a Hyundai, £139 a month, Hyundai. We put the message out there about that. That person starts to get those messages, at some point takes an action. That action turns into how much would it cost for me, how much would it be over 5 years, whatever it is that they might want to change in terms of the parameters of that quote. Can you send me an order form? Great, I've closed it, where's my car? So that is an example of I guess, a customer journey for a couple of different companies. You can see that there are some similarities between them. So I'm going to use it as a generic customer journey. Now then, if we're doing so this is where the content becomes really important now, okay? Because the content is going to do a few different things for us. A lot of the traditional businesses that I talk to, they do this, okay? They do some prospecting, which moves those people into this pipeline here. So I'm going to draw a little pipeline. And down here, you've got customers coming out, and this, think about it like a pipe and in that pipe, you're putting people, and at some point you have to move them. You have to do something to move those people down the pipe until they eventually become customers at the end, and then they go on to other experiences within the business. But what we've actually got happening here is, and this is typical, we've got prospecting. That prospecting goes out and we bring a customer or we bring a prospect into the pipeline, okay? And what a lot of companies do is think about it like a lift. Maybe that's a better idea. So it's a lift with 5 floors, yeah? Okay. And they're starting off at and we probably should do it the other way, but because here they're going into the basement, but you know what I'm saying. They start off on floor 1, and they've received information about us. Now, if you've been looking at my videos, you'll know that I like to do HTML plain text emails, and I like to introduce the service first. I don't like to do repeatedly sales emails. I like to do introductions. I like to do emails that are just letting you know that we exist and this is what we do, and that's a big part of the message that I put out there. So once we've got somebody into that pipeline, what a lot of companies do is they then rely on specific actions, and these are normally one-to-one actions to move people through the elevator shaft. So the first action that it might be is we've got a prospect into the pipeline. They've been coming to our website, and now we want to do some Facebook retargeting or some more emails, whatever it is, to try and get them to take an action. So if they take an action, so they now come back to the website and they register. And this is typically where things tend to go a little wrong. So now they're coming down this elevator shaft and they're on their way through the customer journey. And we tend to actually stop at this point. Once they've given us their information, we tend to stop doing what it is that we have been doing in general or in broad terms, and we tend to move along to one-to-one direct communication. So a salesperson might then say, oh, thanks for registering. You're interested in our products on our website. You're now in our CRM system. I'm just wondering whether or not I can give you a proposal. If that person, as a result of that exercise, says yes, then they move on to a request for proposal. Then after they've got that, they might say, a couple of days later, if having scheduled a follow-up call, I'm just wondering whether or not you'd be interested in the product. If the client says yes, they get sent an order form and so on. The problem here that we have is that process there, where you do a lot of prospecting in order to generate some form of action and get people into your pipeline, that there creates a huge pipeline for you of one-to-one direct conversations that you and your team now have to have. So you've now got to pick the phone up to these people, you've got to start talking to them, you've got to know whereabouts in the pipeline that they are, you've got to do a lot of homework. And the issue that we have with this is that if you're running a small team, or even if you're running a large team, that is going to require significant resources, because you're going to, if you've sent out 10,000 emails and you've got 1,400 people opening it, 14% open rate, which is what we've been looking at recently, and if you've then got, of those people opening it, 140, 150 people clicking through to a website, and maybe 15, 20 of those people taking an action, leaving you some form of contact details, if you're doing that once a week, you've got somewhere in the region of maybe 15, 20, 80, you're looking at perhaps 80 to 100 records coming into your business a month. And if you've done that for a few months, you're now looking at several hundred records. And that's just from that one channel, which is cold B2B email marketing. Well, keeping on top of that pipeline is going to become a full-time job. You're now looking after 300 relationships. So what we need to do here is we need to figure out a way of supplementing everything that we're doing in our direct relationships tips that works, that really helps. And in January, when I started this YouTube channel, or when I started thinking about it and I got more into this, rolled my sleeves up, started to do a lot more of it, I found something really interesting happened. What I did is I created valuable content by the side of my pipeline. And I created it using a number of different tools. There's a video. There's this show here. So that is some kind of video. I also did a webinar. I also did a download. So that was like an ebook or something. I mean, it's not an ebook. It was just a white paper, but you know. And then what I did, and this is really interesting here, is I took that content, which was not selling anything, okay? That's really important. It was not selling anything. It was just providing value. So like this video here, I'm not selling anything in this video if you've noted that. What I'm actually doing is I'm showing you something that relates to email, but it isn't about actually, I haven't mentioned email here much at all. So the video was about how-tos and tips and all that kind of stuff, yeah? The webinar was specifically, I think it was how to grow your business using email marketing, and it didn't actually show you any of the sites that we own and operate where you can buy data or anything like that. It showed you what to do with the data once you'd bought it, and it showed you some of those basic principles. So again, it wasn't actually selling. So this webinar, again, how to, and the e-booklet, that was, I think it was top 5 subject lines, something like that. So all of this stuff, this content was providing value. It wasn't selling. What I then did is I put that content in front of the people. This is the magic, okay? Are you ready for this? I took that content and I put it in front of the people that were in the pipeline, or they were in the elevator, okay? And what they did, what I found happened, is that as a result of that content going out, everybody moved down 1 floor, okay? Without me having to do anything. So I didn't have any direct relationships. I didn't send anybody one-to-one messages. I didn't do any of that. We do that, obviously, on a day-to-day basis. We've got a sales team that do that. We've got a number of marketing assistants that do it. But this content moved everybody down, like a bit like a Tetris game. Everybody moved down at the same time. And that meant that that particular day, we generate a number of leads on a daily basis using all these tools and techniques, B2B prospecting leads, email we use and everything. We got more leads that day than we would normally get. We got more people taking actions that day. We got more people asking for quotes. We got more people that had received a quote asking for an order form. And we got more people that had received an order form closing. So why is this happening? Well, if you think about it, when I'm trying to make a decision on, let's say I have been on your website, I have registered, and I have asked you for a quote, and I've received that quote. So let's say that I've actually received that quotation, that proposal. I may not need you to sell me the benefits of email marketing any longer. I've already made a decision that that's right for my business. What I might be looking for is something else, and that could be something like trust. It could be completely different to what that salesperson or account manager thinks. And that content that you're creating over here might be, or might hold the message of what I'm needing to hear. I then see that, and I see it, and I think, oh, that's interesting. This company have sent me an email. I clicked through on the email. I went to the landing page. I put my contact details in. After having done that, I spoke to a salesperson, agreed what it is that I'm wanting to do. They've sent me a cost, and now I'm watching a video about what it is that they do. Where is the order form? How do I get an order form? Do you see? It's I wouldn't say that it's subliminal, and I wouldn't say that you're being quite open with the whole thing. But what is really important is that sometimes if you put pressure on a person if you put pressure on a person to move them to the next stage in your pipeline, or to move them to the next floor, if you think about this analogy here, then you may actually mess up. And sometimes I've lost clients because I have applied pressure at the wrong time. Instead, what I should have done is I should have removed myself from that situation and allowed the content that I'm creating, or that my company is creating, to do the job for me. Now then, in the last few moments here, it's really important, however, for this to work, okay, it's really important, if you are prospecting using email or LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever else it is, PPC, blah, 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 it's really important that you have access to your audience through multiple different channels. So that might be YouTube. You might have them register by email, but then you might send them an email asking them to subscribe to your YouTube channel, like what I've done here. You might want to connect with them on LinkedIn. You might want to connect with them or follow them on Twitter. And depending upon the kind of business that you have, you might also want to find them on Facebook and add them as a friend. Now, why would you do that? Well, because when you've got this content here, you're going to have to, it'll only work if they see it, okay? So you're going to have to deliver that content to them. You're going to have to get eyeballs onto it, which means that if you've got them subscribing to your channel on YouTube, if you're connected to them on LinkedIn, if you have got, if you're following them on Twitter, and if you are a friend with them on Facebook, you have, and also don't forget that you've got their email address, you now have 5 opportunities to reach them, okay? And if you only had their email address, you've only got 1 opportunity to reach them. And we all know that sometimes people will put your email into folders and they can see that there's an email there waiting for them, but they assume that that email is going to be you putting pressure on them to get them to the next floor in the pipeline. But actually, you know, as a result of that, they don't read it because they know what you're asking for. But if they then go to LinkedIn and they see a video from you, or they see a post from you about something, and they may also see that same post from you on Twitter, if you followed them, they followed you back, you start to move them to the next stage in your pipeline. And this is such a big thing for me right now, okay? So just to recap on that, the email and the other channels that you're using to generate leads into your business are bringing them in, and then if you're a business that likes to move straight to a one-to-one relationship and push them through the building, if you like, or through the funnel one-to-one, then this is going to work for you. It's really, really will work. Creating content that is not selling but providing value and delivering that content to them on different platforms. It does take a bit of work because you've got to go and follow them on Twitter, you've got to go and do all this stuff, but there are, if you've ever come across Zapier and these other tools, there are tools that can do that for you. It will automatically find that person's social media handles and it will do a lot of that work for you. I've even seen people using WhatsApp. I don't know if you've noticed, but Netflix now use WhatsApp. So when a new program is launched on WhatsApp, which you might be interested in, it just sends you a quick message, and that WhatsApp message is just a way of getting in front of you. It's a way of getting your eyeballs. I didn't see their email because I probably filter their emails. I didn't see them on LinkedIn because they're not a B2B platform. I don't see them on Facebook. I don't know why. I certainly don't see them on Instagram. But WhatsApp, yeah, there they were. And as a result of that, I know what's going. And that might mean that I take an action and go off to their platform and watch that movie. So this gives you a little bit of an idea of what it is that I've been putting together this week in terms of video content for you. Please do subscribe to my channel if you've enjoyed this and if you've found value in this video. And also you can find my blog on duncangledhill.com, and I'm on Twitter, of course, at Duncan Gledhill. So please do follow me. I would love to find the channel that you are using that I can communicate with you most effectively on. And with that, I will see you next Friday. Thank you for watching.